I would like to extend my gratitude to our long audience way back when we started this channel who are still around. We would like to thank you for your patience, that indeed we have been off for a while, but we are back with a new program for the lovers of history, for the lovers of the ancient worlds. How are they, and in relationship with the Bible. Remember, the Bible also holds history in it, so we'll be correlating that with the history that there is. So and a simple reminder, please, if you have not subscribed and for a chance you have landed on this video, please subscribe, share, like, comment, and let other people come on board into this family. So this program is going to be spearheaded by our guest speaker, that's Sanya Emmanuel, and please make sure you listen. He's a man of insights. So and indeed he will be giving us more details about these coming sessions about history. So another thing you shouldn't forget is to not miss our videos once they come up. So don't forget to put on all the notifications from this channel too. So today we are learning something new, something good, and something exciting. It's about Egypt. Did you know that a part of Egypt did not really have the current sub-Saharan Africans? So more of this you're going to learn from our guest speaker. So our guest speaker, it's your time. Thank you.
So today we are going to look at Egypt, which is commonly referred to as the land of Ham in the Bible. We know that Egypt was among the very first and oldest civilizations after the flood. And then in Hebrew and Aramaic, it's known as Mizraim, for the word Egypt came from the Greek word which was Egyptos. So Mizraim was a descendant of Ham, the son of Noah, and his brothers were Cush, Part, and Canaan. And despite referring to the whole of Mizraim as the ancient Egypt, Mizraim was far greater, as was the father of the Ludites, the Anamites, Lehabites, Naphtuhites, Pathrusites, and the Casluhites, from whom the Philistines, who are not part of ancient Egypt, came from. So this is why ancient Egyptians, especially those of Lower Egypt, look to be more closely related to the people of the Levant than those of Sub-Saharan Africa. But then we should keep in mind that Egypt was a great empire at times that moved up to Cush and downwards to the Nubian territory. And despite being related to the people of the Levant, we should also remember that in Psalms 81:5, Hebrew and Aramaic are not even closely related to the ancient Egyptian language. And as we shall see, we shall come to know that Egypt was ruled by different dynasties, sometimes people from Libya, sometimes people from Cush, and sometimes other regions that were surrounding. So you've probably heard of the great Egyptian kings that lived and queens like Amenhotep III, Tutankhamun, Ramesses II, Cleopatra, and their achievements. You know of those that built the great pyramids of Giza, and those that built the Sphinx, and many others. But that's not what we're going to be looking at today. For us, we are going to be looking at the pharaohs that are mentioned within the Bible and their achievements, or some things that are mentioned about, that are talked about them. So the first time we come to learn that Egypt had pharaohs or kings ruling is when Abraham had just reached Canaan and he found that the land was experiencing a famine. So Abraham decides to go to Egypt. That is in Genesis 12:10. You should also remember that Abraham's firstborn, who is Ishmael, had an Egyptian mother. And also Abraham's grandson, that is Jacob, when he died, he got an epic burial from the Egyptians because at that time, his son Joseph was the prime minister of Egypt. So after the death of Joseph, the Israelites then become slaves in Egypt. And after that, they are given a messenger who comes and takes them to the promised land. But then after that, 418 years after going to the promised land, Israel becomes a powerful nation. And then King Solomon is ruling, and so he marries Pharaoh's daughter in 1 Kings 3:1. That Pharaoh also gifted Gezer as a territory to that daughter of his, but then that Pharaoh's name is not mentioned. And still during the reign of Solomon as king of Israel, some other Pharaoh assumes power, who was a Libyan king of Egypt, and his name is Shishak. This Shishak guy hid Jeroboam, son of Nebat, from Solomon because Solomon was hunting him down. This guy was an enemy of Solomon. Then Shishak attacked Jerusalem when it was under King Rehoboam, when the empire was now weak and it had been divided into two, so that Jeroboam would take 10 tribes and then Rehoboam, son of Solomon, would take 2 tribes only. So this guy attacked Rehoboam in Jerusalem with an army of Libyans, Sukkites, Cushites, and he carried off the treasures of the temple and the royal palace. So like we've seen during the reign of Rehoboam, son of Solomon, the Israelite kingdom was divided into two, one called Judah and the other called Samaria. The one ruled by Jeroboam was the one called Samaria. Then after several years, a certain nation, Assyria, was on the rise and was so strong, and then what it did, it conquered Samaria and made it a vassal state. That was during the reign of King Hoshea. But when Hoshea was fed up of the Assyrians, he decided to trust King So of Egypt. So at this time, Egypt had a king called King So. Little is known about this pharaoh outside the Bible. But yeah, that led to the fall of Samaria because the Assyrians later came and took these guys into exile. That is in 2 Kings 17:4. So after the fall of Samaria, we go back to Judah. Judah was being ruled by Hezekiah. That is after some time, Hezekiah was king of Judah. So there is another pharaoh that is mentioned. His name is called Tirhakah. He was a Cushite. And when Sennacherib the Assyrian was scaring to besiege Jerusalem, so this Sennacherib now was the leader of Assyria, which was a great empire at the time. So he was scaring to besiege Jerusalem. Then he was alarmed by the rumor that Hezekiah had hired King Tirhakah of Egypt. At that time, it seems this Sennacherib was afraid of Egypt, and so he had to retreat from that battle. Okay, he's scared there, but he had to retreat. These were the days when Egypt was ruled by kings from the present-day Sudan, and that is why when you look at the map of Sudan, there are some villages that have pyramids, ancient pyramids, small pyramids, not compared to the other ones in Lower Egypt. For example, in the ancient city of Meroe. Also, in the last years of Judah, before the exile by the Babylonians, we see another pharaoh called Pharaoh Necho. He was a pharaoh of the 26th dynasty. So this guy, Nebuchadnezzar, was the ruler of Babylon at the time. And then Nebuchadnezzar was fighting against the Assyrians. Remember, Assyria was said was also somehow a great kingdom at that time. So now this was a battle that would lead to the fall of Assyria. And Nebuchadnezzar is fighting against the Assyrians. So Pharaoh Necho decides to come and help the Assyrians. He says it was a command by the Lord so that he would engage in this battle. Then King Josiah of Judah decides to attack Pharaoh Necho. And that is how Josiah loses his life on the plain of Megiddo. Necho dethroned Jehoahaz, son of Josiah, and made Judah pay tribute later. Pharaoh Necho also made Eliakim, the brother of Jehoahaz, king over Judah, and changed his name to Jehoiakim. But he took Jehoahaz to Egypt, where he died. And also it is good to know that this battle where Pharaoh Necho went to engage against Nebuchadnezzar, they lost that battle against Nebuchadnezzar, because Nebuchadnezzar was only growing in power. So after all that, what happens in Egypt is that Nebuchadnezzar later attacked Egypt, and I think that was during the reign of Pharaoh Hophra. That is mentioned in Jeremiah 44:30. So Egypt is led by some Babylonians, then after some time it's attacked by the Persians who had overthrown the Babylonians, and then Alexander the Great and his Greek fellows, or Macedonians, let me say. That is up to Cleopatra. Then the Roman ruler Octavian defeated Cleopatra, and Egypt was under Roman rule for 600 years. Then comes the Arab conquest and the Ottoman Empire. Then according to Isaiah 11:11, we get to know that during those times, there was a lot of intermarriages and mixing of peoples, trading and everything. That's why it's not easy to say the people of this region were only this. No, people are mixed just like you see right now. You go to a certain place, then you find some people look like this and the other look like this because of migrations and movements. Thank you very much.